Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jennifer. We're going to get started here in just a couple minutes. Do I have Tammy on with me?
You sure do. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my lady. How are you?
Excellent. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. Isn't it fabulous when you get to speak and you don't actually have to put on 4-inch heels?
It really is nice. It's one of those moments when you appreciate being a mobilepreneur.
Absolutely. This is how we live. Well, very good. We're going to get started in just a minute. I see people joining us here by the second, and I'm going to go ahead. You guys should see my screen. We're going to do the same thing that we normally do. We're going to start the broadcast right at 11 o'clock, as usual, and we are going to allow people at the end of the session to be able to raise your hand via the broadcast or ask a question using the chat on the right-hand side of your screens, and you guys will be able to communicate directly with Tammy and I, asking questions and or sharing thoughts as well. So we'll get started here in 1 minute countdown. Fantastic. Would like to welcome everybody to Step 2, Session 1. I am going to date today's presentation. Normally when we do webinars, of course, everything is digitized, so we're creating a digital record of today's training class. This is great because those of you that missed it, or you think we talked too fast and you need to go back and pause and rewind and take notes and so forth, you can. The other reason we record everything and we date it is because stuff changes, and as technology changes, communication, social media sites, and so forth, who knows what kind of social media site is going to be the most powerful communication platform 5 years from now, 4 years from now, 3 years from now. Who knows what's happening with Google search, mobile search, web search, and so forth. But I love the fact that today, this is the first time in our training series of 2014 that we have a topic that is timeless. Absolutely timeless. It doesn't matter when you're listening to this, what year it is, what decade it is. Everything we're talking today about is content and communications, which is our entire series in the 12-step roadmap program for digital marketing related to content and communications. You guys, most of you already know who I am if you've been through the first few weeks of sessions for the program. I'm Jennifer Bagley. I'm a speaker. I own multiple companies. I'm a mobilepreneur. I'm all about creating a lifestyle that you love, and that includes making money and doing business and building your network and developing a solid infrastructure for taking your business to market. Today, most importantly, forget about me. This is all about my partner in crime, Tammy Kling. She is a mentor, advisor, a friend. She's head of our communications departments. She's also one of the most amazing authors, writers, and strategists I have ever known. She's been seen on TEDx talks around the globe. Tammy Kling is an international author. Her work is recognized from here around the world. You constantly, if you guys are following her on Facebook, you'll see her randomly on a yacht in the middle of an ocean or in the middle of London cooking with her kids, or she might be in and out of airports constantly, and she's taking care of business. I love the fact she's at home. She has her children at home. Her kids go through an amazing school. I love Tammy's lifestyle, but more importantly, you know, she's a friend and a counselor in my world. So you guys can check out some of her books. She's written books for Tony Jerry, for major authors, and she's been seen on New York Times, Wall Street, Dateline, Extra, Prime Time. Essentially, this woman literally is taking people and transforming lives through the power of words. She's an amazing thought leader. I'm proud to have her on our team. I'm proud to have her as a resource, and like I said, as a friend as well. Tammy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be associated with you guys, and also, as Tony Jerry says, to really have such a strong life team, somebody that really understands strategy and acceleration and results like you do.
Well, I love having you. So I know I missed some things. Give everyone that's attending a little bit more information on you, what you do, what you've done, where you're going.
Well, my background is in crisis management in the corporate world, and through that process, in the decades that I worked within the corporation on the inside, I worked with the C-level, and I worked with executives and CEOs from various corporations, and when we had an airplane crash, I worked on the ground organizing the crisis there. And I found after I left the corporate world that crisis management, whether you're an airline or whether you're a corporation, is especially important when it comes to words, social media, whatever buzzword we want to call it, leadership, culture, results, and teams. Basically, there's always an opportunity for crisis management. And I moved that over into my work as an author, really focusing on helping companies, helping individuals build not only their authentic brand, but using words to transform lives. And how do we transform lives? Well, every company has a story. Whether you're Starbucks creating an experience, whether you're Apple thinking differently, or whether you're some of these amazing organizations that you and I work with, small, mid-size, large, and entrepreneurs, we all have to have a story and a brand. But 90% of the time, you could look at someone's website or organization and find that their story could be improved, refined, or perhaps they haven't even pulled that story out of themselves. So that's what I do. I work with companies all across the globe. Of course, we have many that we're working on together. And we work with those companies to really help refine their message through building content that speaks to the consumer's heart. So why is Starbucks successful? Because they have a story and they presented an experience for you. It's more than just going in and getting a cup of coffee. Same thing with Apple and thinking differently. You know, we all like to think of ourselves as trailblazers that think differently. And it's not just Apple. I mean, it's Samsung. It's all these other amazing corporations. It's these mid-sized companies, some of which are our customers, Jennifer, who have leaders that have these amazing stories inside of them. You know, one customer that we've got, you know, he started in the medical industry because he had a deep personal story about his father. And so bringing that story to life, whether it's business or whether it's shades of the margin of a business, whether it's a personal story, bringing that out in a website, in our content, in what we're delivering to the consumer is really important. And that's what I do.
Absolutely. Well, this is a huge deal that, you know, for everybody that attended. Last week we kind of covered, you know, what are the marketing majors? And the very first one at the top of the list was content. Then we went into video and graphics and websites and blogs, but really everything boils down to, and that's why if you're looking at the 12-step roadmap for digital marketing, the very first thing is strategy and marketing. The second thing is content. The very next step is content. And then we get into other elements like websites and blogs and mobile apps and social media and all of these other things. But everything starts with content. So I just want to go through, this is really kind of all the different categories that you and I think we have the same belief system fundamentally as far as what's important in our lives. Would you agree with this list?
Oh, well, absolutely. Phenomenal. Yes.
So this is really, you know, all of the primary areas that we focus on. And once you start to understand that how you think, what you do, who you're surrounded by, what your marketing strategy is, what kind of leadership skills you have, what you do with your money, what you do with your health, how you leverage relationships, how you leverage resources, and so forth, how you protect these things, how you leverage these things. This literally is the foundation of, one, how successful you can become, two, how long that success lasts. Because many times you'll see somebody have success in one area of their life. However, other areas tend to fail because they neglect or they don't take care of or they don't have the more of a comprehensive strategy. So, Tammy, what are your thoughts? I know you deal with a lot of corporate leaders, a lot of business owners, and just so everybody knows, it's not just Tammy, it's Tammy and an entire team of writers that support all of our clients, all of her clients, and our mutual clients in delivering the content and messaging and so forth that they need. So, but Tammy is, I don't want to say the ringleader, however, she provides that leadership.
Well, I want to provide value for sure to anybody listening, and of course, when it comes to CEOs and executives, our 26 writers all across the globe, from Argentina to London and all the different places that we have writers, are all trained with the same mindset to really understand that there is power in words and to understand what consumers want. So CEOs have reached such a level of excellence that most of the time they have spent years in the trenches climbing the corporate ladder. A lot of them are entrepreneurs, and now their companies have grown. So they're entrepreneurs just like each one of us, and their companies have grown. And these 12 facets: mindset, behavior, time, technology, strategy, network, resources, relationships, marketing, money, leadership, and wellness, are all on the top of their minds. And these are all groundbreaking categories. Our writers focus on content in all of these areas. And when it comes to a leadership, an entrepreneur, growing your business, the one thing everyone truly agrees on is something that you and I, Jennifer, have talked about, is it's not just social media, it's relationships and your assets, and how that strategy, building a technology strategy around that, right, your relationships and your assets, how that will really build and strengthen your business. Because face it, everybody comes to you. I mean, you're this big social media guru, but you do so much more, and everybody comes to you for guidance. But it all comes back to, what are we saying? How are we saying it? And how are we building our relationships through that? Because we just coach people to be leaders in their space, regardless of the industry they're in.
I think that's a perfect segue into you deliver a message that I resonate with, and your statement is words are currency, and I put it bold at the very top because the second, one of the first introductions you and I had, it was almost, I want to say the second or third sentence that came out of your mouth, and when you said it, instantly it resonates with me. I understand it completely. I live in that space. I get it. So these are the areas, you guys are, everyone that's in attendance or everyone that's watching this series, don't miss any series in this month, because we're breaking down these primary areas over the next 4 weeks and going to give you very, very specific tactical strategies for developing, implementing, leveraging, distributing, and syndicating content, leveraging these specific areas. So authorship, we're going to talk about authorship, content messaging, websites, blogging, social equity, newsletters, video, podcast, and more. And, for everyone that's attending, you guys, if you've been through our program, you really understand the 12-step roadmap foundations. We talk about what, as far as technology, how, as far as strategy, with your network, and why, what kind of mindset do you have behind it, and what are you going to do, and that's your behavior, and those are some of the things. So, Tammy, these areas, these are things you specifically focus on. I love the fact that once somebody wraps their arms, and this is what I've seen after you do consultations with our clients, is once somebody wraps their arms about the importance of words and messaging and content in their business, and they understand that words directly impact their financial position, they can also see that you can repurpose and re-leverage that content across multiple different things. What kind of advice would you give somebody as far as, because some people look at this list and they're instantly overwhelmed. Instantly.
Right, that's right. Well, I say that, it's just like, this is the part that organizations that aren't in that top 10% of leadership and really, growing the way that they want to, this is the part that they're missing, and it's really simple. So words are currency. If we don't look at all of our websites, books, contents, blogs, everything, newsletters, if we don't look at everything we're doing and have someone do a forensic on it, then we are not capitalizing on everything that we have. So I look at all this content as an asset. It is as rich as diamonds, gold, and the money in your bank account. That's what I talked about on TED. On the TED Talk, I said words are currency. Just so no matter who you are or what you want to build, no matter what kind of business you have, the words that you have on your website, on your newsletters, on what you're doing on videos and podcasts are currency. So how can we take those words and really craft a message that makes you the expert, the leader in your industry, and what you and I always talk about, the 10-year plan, not just today, but the 10-year plan, because everyone is a blogger now. That's such a diluted word. There's thousands of blogs. But what can we do to really, instead of just pushing out a bunch of information, really fine-tune your message and make you the leader in your industry? Jennifer, that is what you and I do, and I think that's what we do the very best, is use words to define a company or an individual as the leader in their industry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's in business, everything boils down to, you hear this terminology and phraseology. People are saying blogger. What's a blog? Why do I have to blog? The bottom line is forget about the word podcast and blog and video and webinars and all of that. None of that matters. The only thing we're talking about is your ability to communicate with others. And if you think about it in your business, if you were to stop talking today, what would happen to your business? If you were to stop communicating, what would happen to your company? Internally, externally, with prospects, customers, vendors, partners, strategic partners, and so forth. If you stop communicating in your family, what happens? Communication is a sole principle and foundation that we live by, yet so many times in business, we'll use probably one of the biggest excuses on the planet that prevents us from doing the number one thing that embodies the way that our people work together. And I think people get overwhelmed with some of those phrases. Oh, yes. I don't want to do social media.
Yes.
Not social media.
Yes, they do. They get overwhelmed. That word social media, from my experience, Jennifer, people want to just throw money at it and ignore it because they're confused. And then they run out of money 3 months down the road because they don't understand it. That's the beauty of what you do with your 12-step roadmap, is we understand the simplicity of clarity, focus, and execution. That's it. It's that simple. If you can trust that we have to communicate with your customers in a way that, number one, establishes you as a leader. I don't care if you want to be a speaker, if you want to start a business, if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're the CEO of a $40 million company. We will establish you as the leader in that space. That's what we're good at, through books, through content and websites. And I think it's not just about social media. It is about social equity and how we can simplify everything. And people do get so confused, but at the end of the day, it's all about, let us do a forensic on your website, create a brand building book, and separate you as the expert in your field. That's it. It's that simple. And then you, behind the scenes, doing all the analytics and everything that your incredible team does to show results.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's let's talk about audience. You know, a lot of times, so we just covered communication. Essentially, that's all we're talking about is our ability to communicate with others. So you notice on the right-hand side, it says it's important to meet people where they are, but not to leave them where they're at. And if you think about this, most people in a marketing environment are making decisions based on how they like to be communicated with. You know, you notice you have a friend and they love phone calls or they hate phone calls, but they love text, or they don't like to text, but they love Facebook. They don't like Facebook, but they love email. They like reading headlines. They're more of a Twitter person. They're not going to read an entire blog. Some people will only watch a video. The bottom line is, again, you're still saying, everything is about communication. There happens to be a whole bunch of different places and pieces of technology that people like to be communicated with. You'll notice everyone's different, right? You have an audience. You might find that audience in your existing customer list, your past customer list. You might have referral partners, strategic partners, vendors. You may have individuals that are a little more old school. They go to a computer. Now, this will be funny depending on when you're watching this, but they're old school. They go to a computer. They open up Google. They type in a web search, and that's actually, you know, a short key phrase that they're looking to find communication, content that's going to help them answer those questions. They may be a little more sophisticated. Again, March 2014, and they're pulling up their phone and, you know, asking Siri a question, and it's a long tail search phrase. It's asking a big question, which is a mobile search. You may have some people that live in social media. I think right now, what are they saying? There's 1.8. Oh, I don't want to quote stats. The amount of people that you see if you go to a movie theater or a restaurant or the mall or anywhere sitting on their phone and living on Facebook, the percent of time that people live on Facebook or social media sites, depending on what era and which one's most popular then, it is amazing the amount of time people are sitting on their mobile phones, listening to audio, listening to podcasts, working out, and listening to a Kindle book. And same thing with your email list. What you're talking about, you cannot leverage any of these tools without content, without a voice.
That's right. That's right. You can't. And the thing I think most people make the mistake is, you know, not knowing what your competitors are. That old term, get rich in a niche, is great because, you know, you can certainly focus on your niche and establish wealth and continue to serve that market, but then sometimes we have blind spots about what we're losing. And our competitors are saying things that we may not even be aware that they're saying. And so I think it is important to really say, okay, this is the message we want to craft. Let's say it multiple times. Let's be laser focused. Let's be clear. And let's really get to our existing and past customers and communicate. Because sometimes a lot of what you discover for your clients, of course, Jennifer, is that they have this whole new revenue stream they might not even be aware of.
Mm-hmm. Tammy, you know, you and I live in a space where we love uncovering blind spots. You and I love to be challenged, to have our methodologies, our thoughts, our belief systems challenged by people who we trust to push them, to provide us with new information, to allow us to change our mind and think differently, right? We live in that space. I'm not going to say that everybody is designed that way. You and I have been blessed and lucky and everything else in between enough to have people teach us to become aware of and actually seek blind spot evaluation. I'll just, you know, kind of put it like that. We look for that. In your definition, you know, everybody that attends this or is watching this video came into this video with a certain level or a certain understanding or a certain belief system that is ingrained in them or pre-wired or hardwired to their core. So let's talk for just a minute about people's belief windows and blind spots, because you and I live in that space, and how that can impact right now the feeling they may have when they're looking at this list or some of the other lists of overwhelm, of this isn't important, of this doesn't fit my business, of I don't need this, or whatever those things are. Talk to me a little bit about belief windows and blind spots.
I love blind spots. It's something that I've studied extensively, but also is so critical for a business today. Now, we all know that a blind spot can kill us in the vehicle. I drive a big Hummer, and I was going down to see MedStar Corporation, a big healthcare client, the 911 people, one day. And as I was pulling into their parking lot, I almost got sideswiped. And I stopped for a moment, and I thought, wow, I didn't see that coming. And I have a blind spot on my H2. Every H2 has this blind spot. This is the third one I've had. And you really have to look all around at all times. Sometimes you do have this blind spot. It's just there. It's a function of the vehicle and the mirrors, so you have to take extra caution. You can't just pull out. And in business, sometimes we have blind spots where you might not hear from a prior customer, and you might think, well, they emailed me and they said thank you and everything was great. However, their true feeling is different. Now, this is a little bit of human sales psychology. If you look at the way humans are, oftentimes we don't want conflict. And sometimes we do, and we embrace it, but sometimes if we have trouble with a service provider, whether it's the guy that mows your lawn or your dry cleaners, you just move on to a different choice because there's so many choices out there, okay? But the blind spot is if you think about how that applies to your own business, sometimes we do business with customers. We don't hear from them. We think because we had a good dialogue that it was a good experience. But they have already moved on to a different choice. Now, I have seen this frequently. It's made me much more aware in my own business, but it's also been something that I can help clients through. The one way to prevent a blind spot is to really be okay with having someone like us look at a website, look at content, look at what's going on today in a business strategically, and in a simple fashion in 1 week say, okay, here's what we believe are your blind spots. And, oftentimes we should have a life team that does that for us, but if you don't have a life team, sometimes you need an outside professional eye that doesn't cost much money to glance at your business and show you what your blind spot is. Now, you're the expert, so that doesn't mean you always have to agree with it, but I've had a lot of coaches and, incredible men, CEOs of Fortune 100 corporations and guys that are top speakers and top business leaders really show me my blind spots. And there's never been a time when I did not agree with them and say, you know what, I could tweak this one thing and transform my business. So a blind spot is something that we're blind to, and everybody has them. It's just really difficult to think about what they might be, and so you really have to ask someone else.
I love that. I think one of the biggest blind spots out there is how you think.
Yes.
There's many of them just in thoughts that you've got pre-programmed. Well, in multiple slides we've talked about time, and I think this is the largest, in my book, the number one largest blind spot people have is the belief that they don't have enough time. And the challenge is that they don't have enough time to do the right things that would provide them with more time. And that when I'm visiting with an audience, or you and I are speakers, so we stand on stage, we've got an audience, doesn't matter where they are, and we ask them, what is the number one thing you feel like you don't have enough of? They're going to say time. And it happens in I've got thousands of videos with the entire audience raising their hand and saying it at the exact same time. Time. So when you look at how a business functions or how an individual functions, I'll stand up on stage and say, how many of you are in sales? The entire room raises their hand. Those who don't, I remind them they got married or they have children that go to bed on time. Again, you're in sales. And so we really kind of, have to look at, if you're in sales, you're probably spending X amount of hours per day answering the same questions over and over and over and over again. And many business owners and sales professionals live in what I call Groundhog's Day, where every morning they wake up and they do the exact every morning they wake up and they answer the exact same questions over and over and over again. And the challenge in itself is because they live in an environment that is very manual, it's very inefficient, and it's very repetitive, they do feel, and it's unfortunately caused by their own actions or lack of willingness to change, is that they don't have enough time. So I love the fact that when we talk about content, you brought up authorship. What we're looking at is you're already spending time communicating. If you're not communicating, you're not in business anyway. So if you're already communicating on a regular basis, you're presenting your business, you're telling stories, you're giving people testimonials, you're giving them an overview of what you do, how it works, what the benefit is, what the value proposition is, how you got where you are, how you're different, and everything else. Think about this. You're already communicating. The only difference is that we may be able to help you massage the words. I'm telling you, Tammy will be able to. And in addition to that, we want you to get to the point where you're thinking about, how do I duplicate myself? How do I replicate my message? And how do I automate the distribution of it? And that's really where books, blogs, email, social media comes into play. And when you get to a point where you have a professional, if Tammy was to sit down with you and create, refine and revise that message and then put it into a system, you're essentially creating more of you. And Tammy, you've heard people say, I wish I just had 3 more of myself, right? That's what they want. They want to be able to duplicate themselves. I wish there were more of me. Well, there can be. There can be. There absolutely can be.
That's right.
When it starts.
I love that, Jennifer. It's so true. That's what we do, create content that they can then use to give to prospects, to give to existing customers, to give to people that have questions about their business, and then that's it, and they don't have to recreate the wheel on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's when I look at your books you've done, I was just reading your There's More to Life Than the Office, than the corner office. When you're looking at Discover Your Optimal Health or The Compass or Business Ground Rules or The Ultimate Health Guide, you have all these books, right? And I've read all of them. Half of them I've read over and over and over again, and I've got highlighters and marks everywhere. Essentially, you're taking yourself and these authors who you've written books with, co-written books, ghostwritten books for, and you're putting them in my home, in my hands, on my phone, on my Kindle, on my screen, on my computer, on my tablet. So imagine if you were a business owner, as a CEO, as a sales professional, as a thought leader, as a speaker, you were able to digitize, duplicate, replicate, and automate your message and get it in the hands of other people, and you can begin to make money while you sleep. We're no longer in a time frame where people are, all the old cliches. The one thing you can't get more of is time. You absolutely can. It's a little bit of a matrix feeling, right? Because you can create more time through the process of duplicating your message, replicating your message, and automating the distribution of it.
Well, and that's why a lot of our clients write books, honestly. I mean, Nick Vujicic, he reaches 40 million YouTube followers, and he says, books go where I cannot go, and they reach people I can't reach. Because if you're an entrepreneur, as you know, you only have so much time to go to speaking engagements. You only have so many days in the year that you can do webinars, but a book can go on and on and on and be passed on to 20 different people, So that's why I love books for business leaders, because it not only does it promote your business in a way that's not like a brochure, but a very simplistic way to talk about your business in an entertainment format, it can also be passed on.
Mm-hmm. You make me think about kind of the blind spots I've personally went through and the transitions that I've went through. If you were to talk to me 5 years ago, I was a speaker. The more speaking events that I had during a weekly basis, I was excited. If I was on the street, on the road, in an airplane, standing in front of an audience, and I was speaking 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week, that was where I wanted to be. And to me, that was an effective way to build a business, generate leads and opportunities, convert new prospects, and so forth. And I'll tell you, it took time, and it took my coaches and my mentors and people like you in my life to provide me with a different thought. And my thought at this point is there are other things that are more important, and that's where it started. And even though family became more important, the more that I realized how far removed I was from my family, that was a pinnacle or a starting point. Where that led me was actually what I was doing was not even an effective way to build a business. It was effective. Did I grow a business? Absolutely. Greater than the majority of my category? Absolutely. However, I have the ability through writing books, digitizing videos, creating blog posts, creating permanent content, essentially taking everything I was communicating on those stages while traveling all over with high expenses and a removal from life. I can put all of that same content into a book, repurpose the book into videos, podcasts, newsletters, emails, and we made that big list, but it starts with one key. And now I love the fact if I don't want to work, I don't have to work. You and I, we don't have to. It's more about being able to not just have a business and make money, but it's about creating a lifestyle, creating memories, and being diligent and specific about what we're doing. But I'll tell you, if you go watch videos from 5 years ago, and I had quite a few sessions I did where I taught speakers how to be speakers, how to get engagements, how to get booked, and all that. No, I taught business owners how to do the same thing, and I love this transition. It's so much more powerful.
That's right. And I want to not let that idea go quickly. I want to be real clear and authentic here. You're a 1%er. I only work with 1%ers. What does that mean? It means that I will coach and help people write and give advice to a large majority of people that are just trying to go out there and speak and write and so forth for whatever reason. But a 1%er is somebody that actually monetizes their calling and their brand. And I want to make this distinction because I know you, and I know that everything you do and everything I do is about monetizing. Mm-hmm. If we work with a company, whether it's in the medical industry, the automotive industry, or the banking industry, or healthcare, whatever it is, it's always going in the back of your mind, how can we make them more money helping other people? How can we make this organization make more money, double their revenue, simply by using words? And going back to your statement about speaking, on the speaker side, I saw something today early this morning, and I wake up at 2 a.m. and reach for my phone and check Facebook. And I see Facebook, I see a doctor, and his wife wrote a book. I know them. And I see her post that she's so excited because they're getting on a plane to go to Minneapolis, and they're going to do a television interview about their book. Well, that's great, and that's exciting. The book has been out for like 2 years. That's great. However, at the end of the day, these are the people that I coach, right? At the end of the day, I coach doctors and lawyers and speakers and CEOs. at the end of the day, you can do what you want to do, but you have to ask, what is the purpose? Mm-hmm. So flying to Minneapolis, for instance, to do a TV show, okay, there's no monetization behind that except that the doctor has to take a day at least away from the office, so you're losing money. You go, you're on the TV show, and there is not any monetization behind that in any way. I mean, I'm speaking from decades in the publishing industry. I've been on Geraldo, on Dateline NBC, the Discovery Channel. I had 3 million people view our Geraldo segment, and I couldn't see any spike in book sales. You know, there's not really any link between those activities. The same way if you just go speak without any specific objective. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, it's all about looking at the strategy, not just saying stuff on social media just to say it, but actually looking at content, how you engage, and then how you convert that to money, which is exactly what you get and what I get, and that's why nobody else should have to think about it. If you could just, it's so clear to me and so clear to you.
Absolutely. I've been saying this forever, and it just is I'm constantly refining it and getting smarter about it and getting more deliberate. I've always said in order to get results, you have 3 primary things. 1, connect, 2, engage, 3, convert. And it doesn't work without, you see a lot of businesses, they're really good at the connect part, or they're really good at the engage part, or they're really good at the convert part. Great example, you see a speaker, they're on stage constantly, they're traveling all over, they're engaging and so forth, and they walk out of the room with nothing. Or even if they do walk out of the room with an email list or a book of business cards, the conversion element is gone, and so it's more about being famous instead of being rich. You and I have talked about that. I loved your slogan. But every piece of content, even with blogs, you see people write blogs, and in their blogs, it's information. You're connecting with new audience because you've got a solution to a problem. You're engaging with them through the content, and then we leave them sitting exactly where they are. I love looking at the books that you write. In the back of the books and throughout the books, they're constantly referencing conversion. And they constantly have conversion tactics that are written into the books, whether it's converting them into a website, into an assessment, into another blog, into another book. It's converting them into a newsletter. It's converting them into a consultation. Every one of these books has worksheets, references, documents, links, and things that are literally converting them into being a consumer of whoever wrote the book. And that's, sometimes you read things and it's just informational when someone's just an author, but they don't have that monetization factor behind their business. And I love how it's through and throughout the book. I can literally sit here. I've got business ground rules in my hand. There's more to life than the corner authors in my hand. I have the compass from where you are to where you want to be here. I have all of these, and I love that they convert. Those are my books.
They do, and that's the cool thing about, there's more to life than the corner office. That book I wrote with the CEO of First Command Corporation, and the specific objective was to give that book to 30,000 client families, prospects, and to financial advisors who would sit down with married couples and talk about a very difficult subject, money, and try to figure out how can we convey the principles of what's important about money. And they did a very nice job by putting together a book that would help their clients and prospects understand the true heart of the organization. And that was a great success. It's being taught in China at the University of Beijing, and it's a shining example of how words are currency, and we can convert your message, whatever it is, in an authentic way. Not just this whole social media confusion, but in an authentic way, the way that you do with your customers, and really take the heart of that message to lead to converting business.
So Tammy, we've got clients all over the board that are sitting back in their business right now, and they're saying, I own a HVAC company. How seriously does content writing, messaging, authoring a book, how is that going to serve me well in their business? I mean, there's hundreds of attendees that are watching this, and thousands that are going to watch the archives and so forth, that are probably sitting back saying, I can't do this myself. So we need to talk a little bit about leverage, and the difference between hiring and outsourcing. And then two, how does it, if somebody is sitting in that position and they're saying, how does this apply to me? I own a $50 million medical supplies company. How does the CEO becoming an author benefit my company? Or, I own a $5 million HVAC company. How does it benefit them? And for those that are possibly sitting with a blind spot and talking to themselves and saying, so this doesn't work for me, and this is why. What do you say to them as far as how to present new information that can get them to think differently?
Well, I say, number one, your blind spot is that your number one competitor has a book already. And most people come to me and say, hey, my competitor has this book. That's what MedStar did. That's what all these companies do. They come to me and they say, my competitor has this book, and we need to write a book because we need to show the message, and we are the ones that can get it right and be the experts. And, it doesn't matter if you're a trader and you want to write a book about trading to really show people how to trade, or if you want to write a book that's going to build your business. The book, Tony Geary always says, the book is the new brochure. There's no such thing as a brochure, and even blogs and websites and all of that are fantastic, but the book is something tangible that people will take on the airplane, that they'll give to their wife, that will be read. And the amazing thing about it is it does give businesses a chance to put all of their content in one place, send the books to clients. So we don't just coach people to write a book. We coach people to take all their content, the 10 principles they believe in, we put it into chapters, we send it out to their top customers, top prospects, and then we coach them to partner with tipping point people and say, okay, let's send this book out to 100 CEOs. Let's Jennifer send it out to people that let's me send it out to people I know, and let's really leverage this cross-pollination and get a new revenue stream going. So it's really super easy to monetize a book. But as far as outsourcing content, I would say that most people put up a website and then they leave it alone. Mm-hmm. Or they have somebody putting, blog posts here and there, but they're not really looking at a forensic. And that's what we can do. We can look at something in one day or 1 week and then give ideas for the organization or the individual that they can follow to really monetize their message.
Yeah, I'm with you. So a couple thoughts came in my head. One, every time Tony comes out with a book, he sends me a case of like 150. I have a specific database that is who I think would be a good prospect for Tony. I have a specific database for you. And when I get the cases of books, which I get every single time a new one comes out, I'm able to quickly distribute those books out to the right people. So he's when you're writing a book, many times you hear people say, I'm going to write a book and my goal is to sell books. No, your books should sell, well, you can do that, but in addition, your books can be your sales team. So if you think about it, if you were going to invest money into your business and you were going to hire more salespeople and hire more salespeople and hire more salespeople, I'm going to say you've got probably a 30 to 40% shot that those salespeople are going to produce, that they're going to fit with your culture, that they're going to be able to distribute your message properly, that they're going to be able to connect with your clients and deliver exactly what you would. Now, if you were to take all of that messaging, if you ask anyone who's the best salesperson in their organization, it's going to be the owner or the CEO or the person that started the company, the original founder. It has to be. It's their baby. If you were able to take that person and replicate that person and hand them out to potential prospects, now you're taking, and essentially the investment you spend in a book is, I'm going to say, you have a much higher probability of converting new prospects than I would into hiring a sales organization. At least, for me, I don't have a big sales organization. I have a handful of internal people. You don't have a big sales organization. I believe you and I trust that our message, our belief system, our thought process, our message, if put into the right format and put into the right hands, is going to produce more business than having a large sales organization. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And, that's actually freedom for entrepreneurs and CEOs, and especially small to mid-sized companies, because who has the money to spend on a large sales organization? However, the book is the sales organization. It's such an amazing tool. I got on an airplane the other day and I saw everybody reading. I was so astounded. I was almost moved to tears. I stood there in the aisle on an international flight looking at all these people reading books, and I thought, wow, that's crazy. Look at all these people reading books. I would have thought that they would be doing other things, working on their computers or whatever, and they're reading books. Well, why not have them read yours? It is simply the way to break out as a leader. And as you know, Jennifer, we can use that book and take all the content so that each chapter we're using to monetize on the internet, on posting it in various social media sites, blogs, Twitter, whatever we want to do. Use it in newsletters, and even use it in videos and presentations. So it's not just a book. We use that content for years.
Mm-hmm. Many times people say, how many blogs do I write? How many blogs do I write a month? And it's very kind of a hodgepodge, throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks process to developing content for their newsletter, for their blogs, for their social media sites. What we are recommending is you can actually start backwards, and it will lessen the load. It will not feel as stressful. It's not going to feel like such a burden. If you start backwards, i.e. through authorship, you can create a table of, as Tammy said, you're breaking things into a table of contents. Those 10 things can be broken into subcategories. Those subcategories can have a message attached to each one. Boom, you hand it over to a publishing company, editors, and all of those things. They build it into a book. That book now is sliced and diced into a year's worth of content for a website, a year's worth of blog post, a year's worth of social media post, a year's worth of email newsletter podcast. Now you're literally, with ease, you have your entire content and messaging plan done for the entire year. You have all of the content pre-written and in a format that's easy for you to hand over to your team or outsourcing or media team or social media team or marketing team. I love when I work with Tammy or I work with Tony, I don't have to drag content out of them. I don't have to be pulling and saying, tell me about your business, tell me what's important, what do you want to communicate to people? Because they have they started the right way. They said, I'm gonna document my message first, and then, Jen, here's my message, go. And it's literally hands-free. For a client that is sitting in a position where they have a book and we're allowed to pull excerpts out of that book, repurpose, republish, drop into blog posts, pull the excerpts, drop into a newsletter. The newsletter sends them back to the website sends them to the social sites. I mean, you're literally talking about taking what could feel like this really complex process and you're dropping it into a very, very simple system, and you can outsource it. A lot of times people want to outsource marketing, but they don't have messaging. And it makes it very difficult for a marketing company to bring you new business if you're not communicating. Very, very difficult so let me put that. An SEO company, a social media marketing company, a marketing and conversion company, extremely difficult for those agencies to try and market your business if you're not communicating. And when I say communicating, it's leveraging words in the form of you being an author in some way, shape, or form.
And you really make a great point. And I'd love to ask everybody out there, when was the last time you sent a newsletter? Now that seems like an old method of communication to all of us who have heard about Twitter and social media and live in that space, but it's not. It's communicating with a targeted audience. You know, it's so important. And now more than ever, so many people don't do any kind of newsletters, whether it's web, paper, email, whatever it is, they don't do it, so that when you see something come up from a trusted person or a service provider or a company, you open it, you read it, and you've got 5 seconds to get value, right? So that's what I try to do, is make sure right away we're not talking to just about ourselves or about the company, that we're talking to the person that clicks on that newsletter, opens it, reads it, and immediately it asks the targeted recipient a question that causes them to go deep into their heart in a way that explores exactly what it is we want them to think about. In an authentic way. You got to connect with the heart. It all goes back to Apple and thinking differently. Everybody wants to think differently. That's their message. That's what they built their billion-dollar brand on. And that's what I want to do with every single one of your customers, is really get laser focused, clarity, focus, execution, and help them move on towards where we can monetize the message in an authentic way.
I love it. I love it. You nailed it. We have to meet people where they are, and it's their choice. If they love to receive content in email, then they're going to sign up and they're going to read it in email. If they want to receive it on Facebook, they'll receive it on Facebook. If they want to receive it via video, it'll be video. If they're going to read a book, it's going to be a book. If they want to highlight it and write notes in it like I do, then they're going to get the paperback book. So it's about making sure that you don't miss an audience because of personal preference. Meet them where they are, but don't leave them where they're at. Drive them back. Drive them back to your business, a product, a service, a consultation, but focus on converting. You guys, this is, we ran out of time so fast. I want to open up questions. So I've seen lots of communication. Todd with Functional Medicine Center, Janine and Diego, our marketing gurus. We've got quite a few people that are posting questions and mainly saying hello, good morning. I think we got a couple. We talk fast. Great information can be used in the business. You guys, we'll go ahead and open this up. If you have questions for Tammy or myself, feel free to raise your hand real quick. We'll unmute you and be able to help you guys. Tammy, you're awesome. I'd like you to attend everyone for the next 52 weeks. I'm going to need you to join me.
Oh, I might be able to make that happen.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's good. I think that people do get overwhelmed with all the information out there. There's just honestly too much information out there, and people need to know, who's got their best interests in mind, and they just need to know the simplicity of the answers. That all goes back to how you and I were coached, which was clarity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, you guys. Well, I know we're wrapping up at the end of the hour. Tammy, tell me and everyone on here, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you? I know if you guys are on 12-Step Roadmap, you can go to our team. And under our team, Tammy's got a link there. She's got her photo, information about her. She's got a contact us form on there. How else would you like people to learn more about you?
Well, always feel free to contact me at tammykling@me.com or Google me, tammykling.com, and send me an email. And contact Jennifer. I'm part of Jennifer's team, and I want to support you guys in any way I can going forward. Content is king. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. We can take your content and transform your communication.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. You guys don't miss the next, actually, let me unmute. I'm going to unmute Todd real quick with Functional Medicine Center. Hang on one second. All right, Todd, go ahead and unmute yourself. We've got you unmuted on our end.
Hey, I figured it out. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It was very good. I was trying to figure out how to put my hand up. Well, it was a little confusing. I just had a question. Tammy had mentioned that she didn't even see many book like sales spikes after the TV specials, and then you guys have talked about converting. That's probably, I don't know, other people, but for sure, I'm not very good at that. It's a bit of a personal thing. I don't, I always feel like I'm talking about money in my practice, opposed to just treating patients, which I'd rather do. So is there any kind of examples about converting? Is that just putting stuff on the websites like complimentary consultations or percentages off of things, or do you have any examples of what to do?
Well, hey Todd, it's
Hi.
Tammy.
Hello.
Yes, one of the things about the book specifically, and then we'll talk about the business and web, it's all linked together, but in books specifically, so if somebody writes a book, they feel like they're just going to go on all these TV shows and their book's going to become a bestseller. Mm-hmm. And from somebody who's had many, bestsellers, New York Times bestsellers, I've been on Oprah Radio, I've been on the Discovery Channel, all these shows that have millions of viewers, right? It's the simplest way to explain how to monetize, because that's what we all want. We are going to make a difference whether we make money or not, but wouldn't it be nice to make money and make a difference and be the leader and double our income? And it all comes down to, the best analogy is, look at somebody like Justin Bieber, who on Facebook has millions of followers, or on Twitter is one of the leading Twitter accounts, right? Mm-hmm. So he's got all these millions of followers, but how many of those millions of followers who respond to his messages actually buy something, right? So how does Justin Bieber make money? Well, he makes money by being really specific and figuring out how to sell his product by going on tour, right, and having concerts in areas where his audience will buy tickets, and also selling his product online and so forth through the distribution channel of the industry. And it's like that with all of us. So if I write a book and go on a show, it might make me feel better, I might have a great time, and it might get my message out to millions of people. But who is actually going to buy? And that's where Jennifer comes in. Jennifer will say, okay, Todd, let me look at your business now. Let's look at who your existing customer is. Then let's figure out how we can triple that. So here's your existing customer in the last 12 months, and we want 3 times more of that specific customer. So let's write a book, and let's not just put it out there, on a website to sit there. That's like having 12 Porsches in your driveway and saying, well, I got 12 Porsches in my driveway, but I'm not selling any. Let's figure out how to take that content, whether it's the book or the website, and target it to your specific market. So it really just is that targeted. Too many people do something, and there's all kinds of people out there that'll try to sell you stuff, but we have to get targeted in how can we reach your market. And it all goes back to doing a forensic on a real simple, who are your customers and who do you want to reach, and let's get clarity on that, and then let's triple that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as the monetary value, I mean, you have to have that to help more people, right? So that's my goal, is just I like to help patients and help people get their wellness out of life. And if you don't have the money to do that, then you can't open up more practices and help more people and all of that. So
I think that definitely makes sense. I think one of the things that Tammy really stressed is she used the word focus multiple times. Many times in business, I notice there's missing components from the foundation for marketing. So in your practice, it would be like key elements of nutrition missing, or key elements of physical fitness missing, or you know what I mean? If you took out something major, you don't have the fundamental elements in place to be able to start. And the other thing is too generic or broad of a goal. And what I say by that is, a lot of times, you'll hear people say, I want to help everyone or everybody or anyone and so forth. When Tammy says focus, and what Tony and Tammy and I've been coached, like almost beaten into me, is clarity, focus, and execution. Clarity is, I'll give you an example. In what Tammy just said, what I hear when she speaks is, who do you want to target? It cannot end up with everyone and anyone. What are you going to sell to them? How are you going to sell it to them? And where are you going to connect with them? And that's, if we do a shotgun approach, so one, if we don't have the fundamentals, i.e. a very specific target, a very specific message, a very specific solution to a problem that they have, which is your product or service, a very specific plan to be able to tackle them, many times you can be in a position where you feel like you're moving, you're sitting in a rocking chair, but it's never going anywhere. And usually that's because all the pieces aren't in place. You don't have the content, the messaging, the social network. You're not surrounded by the right resources. Maybe you don't have the right coaches. You don't have the right digital plan. You don't have continuous content coming out. Whatever all those fundamental things are. But in addition to that, something that will prevent people from being able to actually get that chair to not just rock, but to move forward, is narrow the focus. If you have 10 trees in one bucket of water, and I say, I want you to get me the best results, do you spread the water over all 10 trees and you have little shrubs growing, or do you dump all the water into one thing and you grow this giant monster tree? What I like to see people do in their business is focus with intensity to create cash that you can then refocus again with intensity to create cash that you can then again refocus with intensity. Does that make sense?
yeah, I definitely think I have a problem with maybe focusing in the aspect that with how we practice, it's very different than typical medicine. Right? And that's what people have been led to believe. I've got a sore arm, see the arm doctor. I've got cholesterol problem, heart issue, see the heart doctor. Whereas, I might have to tone it down to just working on a thyroid or blood sugars. But for us, it's difficult because everything's placed in there together. So you could have a blood sugar handling issue because you're high stress and you overtrain. And someone else might have that same problem, but because they eat the wrong foods. But it typically is all overlapping, and that can lead into other problems.
So and Tammy will be able to further kind of validate this, but you have two different objectives. You have one thought process that is, what is a comprehensive approach to assist somebody in providing them solutions once they're here? Okay, and that's where you are trained and brilliant at, when someone comes into your facility, being able to give them a very, very comprehensive overview and kind of diagnosis of what they need, why, how everything's interconnected, and what the solution is. So that's one thing. Take that, put it in a bucket, and move it to the side. Then you have in a digital environment where you have Mary, who has an ache or a pain or an issue, who's looking for a solution and doesn't know that there is an alternative to what she's been trained to believe is the only truth. She
Right.
has a blind spot. So you have to be able to communicate to Mary, even with her blind spot, that says, this is your problem. This is the traditional solution that you would already be looking for because it's hardwired. And, oh, by the way, there's an alternative. And, you know, Tammy, this is where we struggle as a marketing agency in helping people create that message, because that's a difficult message for somebody who doesn't do this day in and day out like you do.
Yeah, that's very hard.
I would love to see us do a quick on the next 12-step roadmap next Tuesday. I would love to see Todd join us and do a live, if you're up for it, 10-minute forensic where you tell us what you want to improve and we help you improve it in 10 minutes. Because what I believe is that, what I know after decades of working with 1%ers, people that make money living their calling and make a lot of money living their calling, is that most people, the 99%, aren't doing it right. So the secret is just to do it right. It's that simple.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely needs some direction of, and I'm fighting things a little bit, trying to, I think, do it the way I think it needs to be done, as opposed to what might get across to people, as Jennifer's saying about their blind spot.
You know what? That's an awesome challenge. Todd, are you up for that next week?
Absolutely, bring it on.
Fantastic. You guys, with that, I know we went 10 minutes over. We normally don't do that. It's because we have this fantastic guest on the show today. Todd, I appreciate you speaking up, asking questions. And I look forward to next week. Let's nail this in 10 minutes. We'll go through. If anyone else that's attending or happens to watch the video between now and then is interested in having us do a live 10-minute overview and assessment on where you want to be and how to get there, please shoot an email, message it to us, post it on our social media sites, right on our live wall. Let us know you're interested, and give us a little insights on who your business is with a quick web link. And we will absolutely take care of that next week. With that, Tammy, any closing thoughts for today?
Just make it a great day, and thank you, everybody, and let us help you with your work.
All right, you guys. With that, thank you so much. Have a great day, as Tammy said, and we will see you next week on 12-Step Roadmap. To watch prior episodes and the archives, you can go to 12steproadmap.com and just click on Webinar Series. Thanks again.